And welcome to another online class. Vandag gaan ons praat oor die opsomming. The summary is something that you can expect in every end of the year exam from now until the end of matric. The summary is important because we need to be able to answer it well to get the marks we want. So, hoekom is 'n opsomming belangrik? Let's make it practical. In life, often we want to communicate information and sometimes we need to make it less bulky. So if we think of Instagram, sometimes we want to share info in our stories or in an Instagram post, and it's important to keep it short and sweet and communicate the necessary information. Maybe those of you with prospects to study further one day, you'll have to read a lot of information and you must be able to make it shorter or summarize it for yourself to remember it better. So the summary, it's not pointless that you have to answer a question in most of your Afrikaans papers, your paper 1 from now onwards, because it teaches you to take any text, whether it's how to clean your shoes or how to save electricity or how to be a better friend, whatever the text is, how to summarize what is being said and to be able to communicate the core message. Goed, so as ons nou kyk, sien ons dat vraestel 1, afdeling B, vraag 2 is altyd die opsomming. So you can always expect in your paper 1, section B, question 2, that will always be the summary unless they change it from the department's side. If we look at the instructions, it says, som die 7 wenke oor hoe om jou tekkies skoon te maak in jou eie volsinne op. Skryf die wenke puntsgewys in die regte volgorde neer. Nommer die wenke van 1 tot 7. Jou opsomming mag nie langer as 70 woorde wees nie en dui die korrekte getal woorde aan die einde van die opsomming aan. Now learners, these instructions, it's usually just number 1 that changes depending on the topic of the text, but for the rest, it is always the same. In home language English or home language Afrikaans, there's a difference between a precis and a summary, so which means that sometimes it's expected of you to write in a paragraph form, but please don't be confused. In additional language, we expect of you to write short sentences in point form. Goed. So hier sê hulle, som die 7 wenke op. So wenke is suggestions or tips on how to keep your running shoes or your tekkies clean. Okay, or how to make it clean. Hoe om jou tekkies skoon te maak in jou eie volsinne. So very important to always focus rewriting a sentence that it's in your own words or not exactly like it is in the text. 7 sentences, and it should always, every sentence, it can't just be a random statement, it should add towards what is asked of you. Puntsgewys means that it's not in a paragraph form. Okay, puntsgewys is not bullet point, it just means you write it in short sentences, not in a paragraph. Number 3, number it from 1 to 7, so you have to number it. Jou opsomming mag nie meer as 70 woorde wees nie, very important, you should be able to minimize it to 70 or less words, and you have to indicate the correct amount of words at the bottom of your summary. Goed, so as ons hier kyk, hier is ons 'n teks, hoe om jou tekkies skoon te maak. Now, I'm not gonna intensely look at this now. What I want to say is that if we just look at it, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs, and don't make the mistake to think you have to summarize each paragraph. You have to answer the question, and the question is, please give me 7 tips or advice or suggestions on how to clean my tekkies. It might be that the suggestions are only in the third paragraph and onwards. Okay, so don't think you have to go and find something in paragraph 1 or you have to find something in paragraph 2. It might be according to this text, but it's not always like that. Goed. If we continue, this is just my suggestion on how you should approach your summary. So first of all, it's very important to read the instructions carefully. What are they asking you to summarize? So again, in this case, how to keep your tackies clean, or how to wash your tackies, or how to keep it clean. Number 2, read the summary once to get an overview of the content. Then, number 3, reread the summary and then underline key sentences in which they give advice on how to keep your tackies clean. Number 4, roughly write down the key sentences. So those key sentences that you underlined, now you take those sentences and you rewrite them in your answer on your answer page as your rough work. You have to then look at those key sentences and you need to rewrite the top 7 key sentences in your own words. Now it's important to just go and check that your sentences don't say the same thing. Each sentence must have a unique tip or advice on how to keep your tackies clean. You can't write 2 sentences down which actually says the same thing. So therefore you have to go and look at your key sentences and decide which 7 are the top 7 to give me 7 different types of advice or tips on how to keep my tackies clean. Then you reread your sentences, which you wrote down now in your own words, and you focus on your spelling, but more importantly, your word order. Okay? Why word order? I want you to double check your sentence is in such a way written that it gives advice, that it reads well. Because remember, make a statement. You can't ask a question. You have to write a sentence where you start either with a verb or you say something like jy moet jou tekkies met seepwater was. Or was jou tekkies met seepwater. You have to write your sentence in such a way that someone should be able to take your summary and place it in a magazine or on an online blog, and it would read well. 7 tips to keep your tackies clean, or however. Goed. Next one, make sure each sentence is contributing to what they are asking you to summarize. Each sentence has to have a verb. Number 8, count your words and make sure, this is very important, that if you have more than 70 words, that word is in your last sentence. Okay, and indicate the amount of words. I've said this to many of my learners before. Don't think, they're just putting words there, they're not going to count. With the summary, my darlings, your 70th word is where I stop reading. But now I've said this before. I have to finish reading the sentence in which your 70th word is. And I'm still supposed to give you a mark up until the end of that sentence. If your 70th word is only in your 6th sentence, then I can't look at your 7th fact or 7th sentence. So make sure that if you go up to 70 words, that your 70th word is in your last sentence. Okay, goes without saying that make sure your work is neat, and a very good piece of advice is to leave a line open between your sentences so that it's nice and neat. Okay, you can take a whole page, even 2, if you need to answer your summary. Last thing, keep your sentences short and to the point. Okay, remember it has to have a verb, but don't write too long or write too long sentences. And remember, in fact, per sentence. If you look here, this is just a short summary of, in the next slide, of the way marks are allocated. So if you write down 7 facts and it's in your own words, you get 7 points or 7 marks for the 7 facts. And if those 7 facts are your own words, then I give you 3 out of 3 for language. Okay, and there you get your 10 out of 10 for your summary. But if you forget to write in your own words, or you are lazy and you don't rewrite the sentence in your own words, you get penalized in the section where we give language marks. So you can 7 correct sentences, but if 1 or up to 5 of those sentences are exactly out of the text, then I can only give you 1 out of 3 for your language, which means you get 8 out of 10. If you rewrite all the sentences out of the text just like that, but it's the correct ones with the advice, and you write down 6 or 7 direct quotes out of the text, then I give you 0 out of 3, which means you can only get 7 out of 10. I hope that makes sense. You can read that on your own time and familiarize yourself with that. So what is the golden rule? You have to stick to your own words and rewrite the sentences, shuffle the words around a bit so that it is not directly out of the text. Okay, here it's just something to take note of. This is out of the memo, so this is for teachers, but I just want you to know this, that I have to verify the amount of words that you used. If I look at your summary and I suspect that you have used more than 70 words, I have to count it, and I will and have to penalize you if it's more. Goed. Geen punte word afgetrek indien die leerder nalat om die getal woorde wat gebruik is aan te dui of verkeerd aangedui het nie. So obviously I'm not going to penalize you if you didn't write down the correct amount of words or if you forgot to write it down. But like I explained earlier, I have to penalize you if your 70th word is in your 6th or less sentence. So after that, I have to penalize you, but yes, I explained that already. Goed. And also important there, the last sentence, it doesn't matter in which order your sentences are. It doesn't have to be in the same order as the text. Okay, darling, so here's just a memo for the text about how to keep your tackies clean. I'm not going to discuss this. You can go and check yourself by using this as an example. But what I did show there is that you can write down borsel die ergste vuilheid eers af. And that's number 1, borsel die ergste vuilheid met 'n borseltjie af. There in the memo, it starts with a verb, or brush. But you could have also said, jy moet die ergste vuiligheid met 'n borseltjie afvee. So writing it as a suggestion or advice. Goed. And if you look there at number 3, vloeibare hande was seep werk goed. In my personal opinion, that's a very blunt sentence in the memo. So I changed it a little bit just to show which I would think is a better way of answering. Gebruik, which is also a verb, gebruik vloeibare hande was seep om jou tekkies skoon te maak. For me, that is a better sentence. It's a better instruction to read and to take advice from. And then lastly there, onthou die double negative. Remember the double negative. If you start the sentence by saying moenie jou tekkies in direkte sonlig laat doodmaak nie, you have to end with nie. So moenie jou tekkies in direkte sonlig laat droog word nie. Remember that. Okay, and that is the end of the summary.